Welcome to a wonder that is Malaysia, rich in beauty, culture and diversity. Only in Malaysia can you climb up one of the world's top 20 mountains and go deep into the sea in a matter of days.
Malaysia is an exotic land of diversity and culture. It is here that Asia truly comes alive. We have in place a strategic thrust to grow local and international tourism franchises that open up prospects for tourists and tourism partners alike. Above all, we are building a tourism infrastructure that celebrates the Malaysian warmth and hospitality, treating every visitor as guest in our own home with open arms and the best of care. Come and visit Malaysia, a land of sensory amazement and joy, a land that offers vibrant experiences and endless possibilities.
Surrounded by Thailand in the north, Indonesia in the southwest, and Singapore in the south, Malaysia is relatively new to tourism compared to ASEAN neighbors. However, Tourism Malaysia's goal is to increase the number of foreign visitors to improve Malaysia's economic sector. According to Ministry of Tourism and Culture Malaysia, Malaysia is targeting to receive 28.8 million in foreign tourist arrivals during Visit Malaysia year 2014. There have been several actions that have been done to woo the targeted 28.8 million tourists for 2014, such as kicking off in a big way through the hosting of several tourism carnivals to create awareness and solicit strong support from both public and private sectors. On the other hand, a more in-department public relations strategy would be done to boost the amount of international tourists who visit Malaysia. Therefore, a SWOT analysis is quite important in order to assess the strategic strengths and weaknesses of the Malaysian tourism industry, as well as the opportunities and threats against improving regional cooperation with the ASEAN neighbors. From the SWOT analysis, it can be seen that strengths of the tourism industry in Malaysia are the outstanding natural beauty comprising tropical forests, lakes, pristine islands, mountains and so on. Malaysia offers the adventurous tourist a large array of activities. A tourist can enjoy the comfort of Malaysia's large, clean modern cities, hike through the lush tropical jungles brimming with a wide assortment of plant, animal, and insect life, swim or sunbathe on Malaysia's pristine white sandy beaches, or scuba dive along the coral reef steaming with life. When the tourists become tired of the heat and humidity, they can trek up the towering mountains in central Malaysia, and pick strawberries, or visit a tea plantation. Secondly, the cultural diversity and multiculturalism are only unique to Malaysia, so much so that tourists from other parts of Asia can at once be at ease with the familiarity of Malaysia and yet marvel at its differences. Also, a large portion of Malaysia's population are able to speak English and a number of other key languages including Chinese, Malay and so on, which makes it relatively easy to communicate with foreign visitors and offer help to lost and confused travelers. Thirdly, Malaysia's physical infrastructure is good. Peninsula Malaysia has an excellent system of well-maintained highways. Good accessibility provided by a first-class expressway system, modern airport facilities, quality accommodation and safety are the other major strengths of Malaysia as a tourism destination. At the same time, Malaysia offers investors an educated workforce that, although on the high-cost side, is still competitive with other countries in Asia, provided the emphasis is more on skills than on a large supply of cheap and unskilled labor. In particular, as an Islamic country, Malaysia has attracted over 170,000 visitors from the Gulf countries in 2013 and has been rated the world's top Muslim-friendly holiday destination in a survey released last year. Malaysia's policy for the tourism sector is to ensure a comfortable environment to all Muslims family tourists in line with its Islamic lifestyle. The government is careful to prove the country has a halo tourism sector targeting a large number of tourists from Arab Gulf countries. On the other hand, Malaysia offers a wide array of medical services and procedures including dental, cosmetic and cardiac surgeries at significantly lower costs compared with other countries such as Singapore and US. Medical tourism in Malaysia has emerged as one of the fastest-growing tourism subsegments over the last few years despite the global economic downturn, with approximately 400,000 health tourists generating over RM 380 million in revenue for 2010 alone, according to business intelligence firm Inside Investor. The foreign medical tourists and investors were also attracted to Malaysia's favorable exchange rate, political and economic stability, as well as high rate of literacy. In order to boost the tourist industry, Malaysian government is also committed to establish the government's promotion board, Tourism Malaysia. The board has 11 marketing offices within the country and 34 offices overseas. Finally, Malaysia's tourist industry experienced strong growth and is the 9th most traveled tourist destination in the world, attracting approximately 25.72 million tourists in 2013. Since Malaysia is a newly industrialized country, it may have a high Keynesian multiplier effect and can retain most of the tourist dollars within the country. Malaysia has the manufacturing industries to support its tourist industries and prevent the leakage of its foreign currency earnings. Overall, Malaysia is ideal as a short break or a long-stay holiday destination with a high accessibility factor to the other major tourism destinations.
So why do you choose Malaysia as a tourist destination?
Well, I choose Malaysia as a tourist destination because I heard the food is really nice, first thing. And secondly, it's always summer weather, which is also nice. And also, it's quite, from what I heard, very relaxed environment. Everyone is very friendly and they get really well along together. And also, I find it very fascinating that all these cultures, they just come together and they just live harmoniously. And I find that very fascinating. Okay, thank you.
Malaysia's tourism industry has 6 weaknesses, unfortunately. The main weakness is its low-yield economic return, forced upon by the underselling of hotel rates, hence affecting the profit margin of most 4- to 5-star hotels. Consequently, the low profit margin has affected the human resource development, training and hotel refurbishment programs, which in turn has affected service quality. Moreover, Malaysia does not have enough direct flights between Malaysia and Europe. Most tourists prefer Singapore as their transit route instead directly to Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Due to the fact that Malaysia is an Islamic country, many tourists from Europe and North America may have negative perceptions and misconceptions about Islam, and they travel elsewhere for vacation, because they believe it is safer. At sensitive areas such as islands and hill resorts, environmental degradation has also worsened over the last few years due to the lack of management and enforcement. Until the economic outlook for hoteliers improve, the tourism industry is expected to play safe and keep what they have rather than embark on cross-border selling of tour packages. Finally, many tourists complain about taxi drivers, who overcharge for their services despite opportunistic taxi drivers plague every country across the world.
What do you think that is lacking in the tourism industry in Malaysia?
Malaysian tourism right now has a lack of positive exposure, mainly because due to the recent events of MH370, blah blah blah. It's just that the negative culture would affect us in general. But if there was like a easy way to gain the positive exposure for Malaysia, it would boost up its tourism rate.
Malaysia has 7 opportunities to sustain its tourist industry. The opportunities that can be found in Malaysia tourism are the low-cost carrier, which is the budget airline. Malaysia's main budget airlines, AirAsia, travels to most of the international continent. Now almost everyone can travel to Malaysia at a budget price due to the low-cost carrier. Second, China continues to grow at a phenomenal rate, and its gross domestic product, GDP, grew around 7.8% in 2012. Since tourism is a luxury good, rising GDP increases the people's incomes, thus creating more tourists. Although 1.56 million Chinese tourists visited Malaysia in 2012, China's rapid growth will increase the number of tourists who will explore Malaysia. Third, Indonesia is Malaysia's neighbor, and its economy is growing furiously. Many international tourists explore the countries next to theirs, and consequently, 2.38 million Indonesian tourists visited Malaysia in 2012. In addition, Malaysia could develop an ecotourism market and special interest tour because it has lush jungles and parks, and pristine beaches and coastlines that are brimming with wildlife, beauty and biodiversity. Sarawak, for example, is promoting Rainforest World Music Festival tourism in Malaysia. Thus, Malaysia would be able to move away from mass tourism and develop a niche market in ecotourism similar to Costa Rica's. Also, Tourism Malaysia aims to showcase Malaysia's unique wonders, attractions and cultures, develop domestic tourism and enhance Malaysia's share of the market for meetings, incentives, conventions and exhibitions, MICE. In the long term, youth travel within the country and possibly within the region will not only boost Asian cohesion but also develop a traveling culture amongst the nation and region's youth. In turn, the social benefit of youth travel has the potential to be transformed into an economic benefit in the future. Lastly, Malaysia is moving up the value chain of industries and is currently focusing on attracting high technology, high value-added, knowledge-based and skill-intensive industries incorporating activities such as design, research and development.
Okay, so how often do you travel?
Yeah, I often travel like every year.
Every year?
So I go to Philippines every December, Christmas.
Which airline do you use?
I mostly use Cebu Pacific or AirAsia, but mostly AirAsia
Why?
because it's very cheap and they always give a lot of promotions.
The Malaysia tourist industry has 5 threats that could cause future problems. Threats that Tourism Malaysia is facing firstly are the regional safety and security. There is an increasing in the growth of violent crimes involving foreigners and tourists in Malaysia. The most common crimes committed against tourists and foreigners are including petty theft, especially purse snatching and pickpocketing, residential burglaries, while the other types of non-violent crimes including credit card fraud and automobile theft. Secondly, environmental degradation is likely to be a major threat together with the displacement and marginalization of the local population. Malaysia is a developed country and its manufacturing industries are growing. Thus, Malaysia is building more resorts, golf courses, marinas, roads, and highways that could damage the ecosystems and natural habitats. Ironically, the areas that are likely to face serious threats are the World Heritage Sites and other fragile areas. Sustainable tourism means Malaysia should preserve its environment so all future generations can enjoy and share Malaysia's natural resources. Not only that, the outbreak of contagious and deadly diseases, such as swine flu, is one of the factors that threaten Malaysia's tourist industry to keep its fingers crossed. In 2010, Asia suffered the most as a result of the H1N1 virus. This forced many tourists to stay away from Malaysia and put off their travel plans for fear of contracting the potentially deadly virus. Due to the fact that international travel and leisure are a competitive industry, Malaysia is competing with Hong Kong, China, and Japan for tourists. Other threats, such as ignorance and prejudices, are present in any society which tourism has the potential to eradicate.
Okay, so do you feel safe traveling in Malaysia?
No,
Why?
because as you can see now in the world, Malaysia's crime is increasing and it's not safe anymore to travel. So yeah, and besides, we are now considered the top 10 country which is like the most dangerous in the world. So yeah, very dangerous and not safe to travel.
For the conclusion, Malaysia has a strong tourist industry and it is ranked 9th in the world for tourist arrivals. Hence, the Malaysian government can build upon its success and continue to attract a variety of tourists, whether the tourists want to visit modern cities or hike through dense, pure jungles swarming with wildlife. Unfortunately, The international tourist industry is a competitive industry, but Malaysia can develop a niche market in sustainable tourism by protecting its natural resources and market them to the world. Thank you for watching.